In 1789, France was the most glorious kingdom in Europe, yet they faced a problem: the power of their own people. Years of war, especially the costly 7 Years' War and the support for the American Revolution, had set the monarchy into financial ruin. The nobility was immune to taxation, while the common people suffered under crushing taxes and the soaring cost of bread. Hunger turned into anger, and anger to violence.
The Age of Enlightenment had armed citizens with ideas, reason, liberty, and equality. It was also the birth of a new philosophy, humanism. Thinkers began to see humanity itself as the center of moral and intellectual life, no longer the divine right of kings or decrees of the church. Human reason, dignity, and consciousness became sacred. These ideals undermined the ancient hierarchy of king, clergy, and nobility. Philosophers like Rousseau, Voltaire, and Montesquieu taught that just a society must be built on the will and worth of its people.
Louis XVI, indecisive and ill-equipped, summoned the Estates General. He sought control, but unknowingly opened the door to revolution. When the Third Estate, representing 97% of the population, declared itself the National Assembly, promising to stay united under tennis court oath on June 20, 1789. The king retaliated by calling troops to Paris in early July. Fear ignited fury. Rumors spread that the army would crush the people. On July 14, 1789, the citizens of Paris rose in defiance and stormed the Bastille for gunpowder. The great symbol of royal despotism, the fall of its walls marked the fall of fear itself.
As the revolution deepened, new moral radical voices rose to shape its destiny. From the growth of its radical movement emerged the Jacobin Club, where fiery speeches filled the air and ideas became weapons. Its most powerful figures would soon guide the revolution course. Georges Danton, loud, bold, and magnetic, the voice of the people who could turn despair into courage. Jean-Paul Marat, choleric, feverish, and confined to his bath, who poured venom into his newspaper, the friend of the people. And Maximilien Robespierre, the lawyer from Arras, known as the Incorruptible, whose vision of moral virtue would define both the revolution's greatness and its terror.
1792, as foreign armies closed in and Paris trembled, Danton's voice thundered through the assembly, calling the nation to arms.
De l'audace, encore de l'audace, toujours de l'audace.
Les rois doivent mourir, porque les nations vivent.
With the monarchy suspended, Robespierre declared that the revolution could not live while the king still did. Backed by Marat's radical calls for death, especially during the September massacres in 1792, the trial of King Louis XVI became the trial of the monarchy itself. He was condemned by a single vote, and at the guillotine on January 21st, 1793, cried out, "People, I die innocent."
The execution of the king transformed the revolution. The dream of liberty now walked hand in hand with the vengeance. With months, the guillotine became the new symbol of justice. Marat from his sick bed urged citizens to purge the Republican of traitors. His words filled Paris with suspicions and fury.
Kill every last one of them. Cut off 1,000 heads. And if that's not enough, cut 1,000 more.
Not all revolutionaries shared his thirst for blood. To some, Marat had become a fanatic. On July 13, 1793, Charlotte Corday, a young woman from Normandy, gained entry to his home, disguised as a bringer of names for his paper. As Marat sat in his bath, she plunged a knife into his chest. His final words were not of vengeance, but of pain and surprise.
Aidez-moi, mommy. Aidez-moi. Aidez-moi, mommy.
That same year, the revolution reached its most violent turning point, with France surrounded by enemies and rebellion spreading within. The Committee of Public Safety passed its most chilling decree, a decree that stated terror must be the order of the day.
Those words were not a metaphor. They became policy. The Committee of Public Safety, a 12-man dictatorship led by figures like Robespierre, took control of the Republic. Fear was no longer chaos, it was law, in a period called the Reign of Terror. To hesitate, to doubt, to remain silent was treason.
Terror without virtue is disastrous, but virtue without terror is powerless.
The guillotine worked without rest. Streets that once cried for freedom now echoed with the sound of its blade. Thousands died for suspicion, for silence, for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Terror and fear had become the language of the revolution. To live was to conform, to question was to die.
Even George Danton, who once stood beside Robespierre, now begged for the end of the bloodshed. But Robespierre saw the continuation as necessary and the stop as betrayal. He turned on his old ally, accusing him of corruption and treason. The man who had once defended the revolution now faced its blade.
The revolution devours its own children. My only regret is that I died before that rat Robespierre.
Robespierre now ruled not by love of virtue, but fear of death. Soon he began to see enemies among his own allies. On the 9th of Thermidor, 1794, the conviction rose against him. Cornered in despair, he shot himself in the jaw but did not die. The next day he was carried to the guillotine he had so often praised.
The revolution, born in the name of liberty and equality, had created a terrifying paradox. It destroyed the tyranny of the kings, only to build a dictatorship of virtue and blood. Yet from fear and violence rose a new France, a French republic.